We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm really excited to share something that's super close to my heart. It's my book called Breaking the Chains Within: Finding Inner Peace Through the Wisdom of the Herd. This book is about my personal journey of finding my way through healing and inner peace. But it's also written in a way that it's a guide for anyone who's seeking those things, freedom and a deeper connection to yourself. And if you are a horse person, it also can help you create that deeper connection with your horse. And if you're not a horse owner, but you're a horse lover, this book is actually going to be something I think you will enjoy as well, because as it alludes to, finding inner peace through the wisdom of the herd. It's about my experience with horses, especially my own personal herd. I couldn't have done this without the help of RC, Rocky, and Dakota, and that's just to name a few of them. They helped me to confront my own fears and emotional patterns and ultimately find peace. They have been my teachers, my mirrors, and my healers, and my trusted companions, all at the same time. And their wisdom is something that I felt called to share as I have gone through this incredible transformation. And so today, I would love to read a chapter with all of you. My hope is that something in it speaks to you the way that the herd spoke to me. Are you up for that, Laura?
Yeah, so I got the amazing privilege of being one of Cindy's pre-readers for this book. And it has been a while. When did I do that? In February?
Yeah.
And I wrote this in my review of the book, and I thoroughly believe it. It's the kind of book that is going to hit you differently at different stages of life. And when I think about how much my life has changed since February, I wasn't even all in on being a hoof care pro yet at that point. I still had one leg in one world and one leg in the other, and I was waffling and da 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 da.
That's true.
So I cannot wait to get my hands on the real book and read it again, because it's going to be an entirely new experience.
Yay. That's exactly what I hope it will do for many. I know that writing this book and rewriting and reviewing and rewriting it changed me so many ways. So the chapter that I'm going to read to everybody today is chapter 8, and it's called Reclaiming Your Power. And if at any time, Laura, you want to step in, just kind of jump in,
Okay.
and we will just go from there. Reclaiming your power. The first thing I noticed about freedom was how weightless it felt. Without the walls of the prison, I could breathe more deeply, move more freely. But the absence of weight didn't mean the absence of challenge. Freedom brought with it a new responsibility, the responsibility to choose, to create, to step fully into my own power. Power was not something I had always understood. For years, I had equated it with control, controlling outcomes, controlling relationships, controlling myself. But now, standing on the other side of the prison's ashes, I realized real power wasn't about control. It was about alignment, about bringing my thoughts, actions, and beliefs into harmony with my higher self. Trusting the process. The journey of reclaiming my power began with small steps, much like my work with the horses. Trust had to be rebuilt, not trust in others, but trust in myself. I had spent many years doubting my instincts, second guessing my decisions, that the idea of trusting my inner voice felt foreign. My time with Rocky had taught me the importance of listening. With horses, you couldn't force trust. You had to earn it, moment by moment, through patience and presence. I realized the same was true for my relationship with myself. Reclaiming my power wasn't about a dramatic transformation. It was about quiet consistency, about showing up for myself every day. One morning, as I worked with Troubadour, the Palomino who had come to me from a kill pen, I felt a shift. Troubadour had been guarded when he first arrived, his past filled with abandonment and rejection. I had given him time to process, to feel safe, to decide when he was ready to move forward. That day, as I guided him through a series of simple exercises, he responded with a confidence I hadn't seen before. His movements were fluid, his ears attentive. He was no longer reacting out of fear, he was responding with trust. "That's it," I said softly, my voice filled with pride. "You've got this." The realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. So do I. I had spent years reacting to fear, to shame, to the expectations of others. But now I could feel myself shifting. I was no longer bound by those old patterns. I was learning to respond with trust, with intention, with power. Harry's resilience, choosing joy amid challenge. The lesson I was learning mirrored Harry's story in so many ways. Handsome Harry, our Mustang ambassador, had faced challenges that could have broken his spirit. As a foal, he was removed from the wild at just 5 days old, battling anemia and lice infestation. He grew up bottle-fed, far from the open plains of his birthplace. And yet, from an early age, he radiated an unshakable zest for life. Troubadour showed me the power of patience and trust, while Harry reminded me of the resilience needed to face life's challenges head-on. Together, their journeys mirrored the steps I was taking to reclaim my own power. When Harry partially amputated his hoof in 2022, his future was uncertain. The injury was severe, and his recovery would be long and arduous. For weeks, his days were filled with pain management, bandage changes, and careful monitoring. The prognosis was guarded, but Harry approached each moment with a calm strength that inspired everyone around him. There was a day during one of his follow-up visits when Harry rested his head against my chest, his soft breath warm against my skin. Despite everything he had endured, there was no trace of fear in his eyes, only trust and a quiet determination to keep moving forward. That moment reminded me of a truth I had often shared with others, but now needed to embrace for myself. Resilience isn't about erasing the pain. It's about choosing joy, even amid the challenges. Harry's recovery wasn't just physical, it was emotional and spiritual, a journey of healing that redefined his role within our herd and deepened his bond with everyone who knew him. His willingness to arise above the pain and embrace life's possibilities became a touchstone for my own journey of reclaiming power, redefining power. The next challenge came in the form of my work. I had always been passionate about helping women and horses, but my fear of failure had often held me back. I worried about not being enough, about falling short of the expectations I had set for myself. But now, as I looked at my work through the lenses of freedom, I began to see it differently. My work wasn't about proving myself. It wasn't about achieving perfection. It was about connection. Connection with the women who came to me for guidance, connecting with the horses who mirrored their struggles and triumphs, and connecting with myself. One evening, I sat down to revisit my program, Heart and Soul Connection. The name had evolved from its original title, Unbridled Freedom, to reflect the deeper purpose I now see in my work. Heart and Soul Connection captured what I had come to see as the core of my work, aligning with the deeper truths within ourselves and fostering authentic connection with others. I started by writing down the core principles that had guided my own transformation. Trust your instincts. Your inner voice is your greatest guide. Embrace the power of the pause. Growth happens in the space between. Stay present. Freedom exists in here and now. Honor your journey. Every step, even the difficult ones, is part of your becoming. As I wrote, I felt a sense of clarity and purpose. This was my power, not in controlling every outcome, but in sharing my story, my lessons, my heart. A circle of connection. One of the most profound moments came during a session with a group of women who had come to my ranch for a retreat. They were gathered in a circle, sharing their stories of fear and resilience, of heartbreak and hope. The horses moved among them, their presence grounding and calming. As one woman spoke about her struggle to find her voice, I felt a familiar ache in my chest. I had been there, silenced by doubt, afraid to speak my truth. I leaned forward, my voice steady but filled with emotion. You have more power than you realize, I said. It's not about being fearless. It's about being willing. Willing to show up, willing to try, willing to fail. That's where your power lies, in the willingness to be who you are. The woman's eyes filled with tears and she nodded. It was a moment of connection, of shared understanding. And in that moment, I felt my own power growing, rooted, not in control, but in authenticity. Power through presence. Reclaiming my power was an ongoing process. There were days when fear still whispered in my ear, when the old patterns tried to pull me back, but now I had tools. I had the lessons of the horses, the guidance of my higher self, the support of the beautiful woman, and the inner child who walked beside me. Power wasn't about being perfect. It was about being present. It was about choosing to show up, even when it was hard. It was about trusting that I had everything I needed within me. One evening, as I sat by the pasture watching the horses graze, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known before. Rocky's steady presence, Troubadour's resilience, Harry's joy, and the quiet strength of all the horses in my life reminded me of the power I was reclaiming. I was free. I was powerful. and I was ready for whatever came next. At the end of every chapter, I have included action steps. And within those action steps are reflections of the lessons that can be experienced through your own reflection.
It's how you're going to apply the lessons that Cindy's sharing to your own life in real time while you're reading the book. I did not have time when I was reading it the first time because I was under a deadline to get it back to Cindy. But get a notebook and take your time with it. It'll be so worth it.
I'm going to read just a couple of the action steps. Each chapter has about 6 to 7 action steps. I'm just going to read the first 2 sections for you guys just to give you a sampler. So in this chapter, the first action step, define your power. Number 1, reflect on what personal power means to you. Consider, when do you feel most powerful? Journal about that. What external factors influence your sense of power, positively or negatively? Number 2, write a personal definition of power in your journal. Keep this as a touchstone for moments when you feel disconnected from your strength. And number 3, in the first action step, consider how Rocky, Troubadour, or Harry demonstrated their own forms of power, resilience, trust, and presence. Reflect on how these qualities resonate with your definitions. And then action step number 2 has 2 things to do. It's called a daily trust practice. The first one is identify one small way to trust yourself each day. This could be trusting your ability to make a decision, to say no, or to follow through on a promise to yourself. Number 2, at the end of the day, journal about the experience. What did trusting yourself feel like? What was the outcome?
I wrote down my definition of personal power as it came to me today in today's version of me as she read it. That is my definition of personal power is being me in the darkness and in the light, when it's easy and celebrated, and when it's met with resistance or unkind words. Being me and feeling at peace regardless of how that is received.
Very nice.
And I think that MJ is an embodiment of that every day of her life. She doesn't know how to be anywhere else.
And wouldn't you say, unless they have been taught learned helplessness, that most horses are that.
Yeah.
And don't know how to be anything else. It's the ones who have been shut down and scolded and controlled, much like this whole chapter talked about, that struggle, like we who have had those same experiences do. That's powerful, Laura. Thank you for sharing that.
So, okay, Cindy, where can we get the book?
All right. You can get the book on Amazon. The ebook is going to officially be released on August 26th, 2025. And I hope many of you will go buy a copy of it. And for those who do, I would love to request that you leave me an Amazon review. That helps me get my way up in the list and other people get to see the book. And then the paperback copy will be released on September 6th of 2025. And when I'm excited about a book, I always buy the ebook so I can start reading it. And then I buy my paperback so I can go in and love. So I hope that you guys will check this book out and let us know what you think about it. I'm super excited. It was a big deal, and I considered myself not a writer, but yet there was that little voice inside that said, you need to write a book. And so I did. And it's very exciting and scary and feels very vulnerable. But I think the biggest thing is that I just hope it touches as many women as it did me writing it.
If you are listening to this episode in real time, that means that Cindy's book went live on Amazon this morning. And the number one thing you can do to support her is go buy a copy of the book on Amazon, because the more sales she gets in the first couple hours that her book posts, the more the Amazon algorithm pushes it out to more buyers. So if you have ever gleaned an insight, something super helpful from the podcast, and you want to pay it back to Cindy today, that is one small action you can take that will be massively beneficial to her. And then you get a copy of the book. So it's win-win for everyone. Happy reading.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.